Righty. Okay, and I think my headset just went off as well. Yep, so I should be on my speakers and microphone. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So thank you all for joining us for this month's Nancy Tech community call for November. Okay. This community call is hosted by Sissa Technology, which is a company based in Ghana, and NTC Tech, who was the original founder and based in the US. Just a friendly reminder, all meetings are being recorded and posted to our YouTube channel. Whoops. Oh, I think this one has the thing. So if you don't want to be recorded, make sure that you turn off your camera or stay on mute, and or disengage entirely and watch the recording. But if you turn off your camera and stay off mute, then uh, you won't be on the recording. Here's the agenda for today. So we just got finished with the welcomes and arrivals. Oops. And then we have, right now we're in the greetings and whatnot. We'll go meet the team. We'll learn about Anansi Tech. There's a call for speakers, sponsors, and volunteers that we'll talk about. The community announcements, of course. Then we'll go through our speaker time. And then if we have time in the end, we'll go through networking time and our closing. So here is our Nancy Tech community team. We are both, it's the leadership team mainly from NTC Tech and Sissa Tech that is founders for Anansi Tech, for the Anansi Tech community. So you see all of us on this slide, and I am your host today. So about Anansi, we are a group of folks who are enthusiastic as well as professional in the Microsoft arena. So we're looking for like-minded folks to join the community that want to share ideas, people that are new to the tech community and maybe might be interested in Microsoft, want to come check it out, as well as the people who are more seasoned veterans. So it's come one, come all when it comes to Microsoft technology, mainly around Microsoft Office 365 and Power Platform. On the slides, you can see the links to our community page and our company page, the community page for discussions, the company page for events. But there will be a QR code at the end as well, and you'll be able to get to these slides later if you're part of our community. Feel free to get social. There, you can use the hashtag Anansi Tech Community or Anansi Tech. For our all call, we are still looking for speakers, sponsors, and volunteers. This is something that we're always looking for. So speakers, whether you're new or a seasoned veteran in speaking, we're looking for topics around Microsoft tech, Microsoft M365 and Power Platform mainly, but if it's somewhere around in the arena, then we also look for those type of tech topics as well. Tech career topics and career topics as well. For sponsors, we are looking for sponsors to help us sponsor not only our monthly calls, but also sponsor especially our in-person mini conferences and the big conference when we get around to actually being able to plan that. And then for the volunteers, we always need volunteers to help us in the community with hosting, with posting in the community, with helping with finding speakers, with running the chat during the event, things like that. Lots of different ways to volunteer. And if you volunteer with us for 3 months, we will write you a letter of recommendation that you can add to your portfolio. Also, being a speaker also is a great thing to add to your resume. So if you do speak for our community, make sure you add that to your resume. Now, we want to give a huge thanks to our volunteers. We have Harrison and we have Samuel, who have been a great help to our founding team. Okay, so our community announcements. um, share any community announcements that you may end up having with us. But here's the ones that we have so far. And you can share them with us through our email addresses on this slide. So we have the data management and analysis for quantitative data, blah, 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 conference coming up. That's coming up in December. And where it will be located is to be announced. Then you have this AI conference, AICA 2026 conference, and that one's coming up in January, so a little bit further out. And then to remind y'all about our new schedule, we have our monthly times like we're having today, um, every few months. And then once a quarter, we've been planning and have had an in-person meeting. But this next one, we're going to play it by ear because of attendance and registration. If we get a lot of registration, then we'll go ahead and have it in person. But if not, we'll just go online. So this is a community, each one teach one. We really appreciate folks learning ahead. Sharing the community so other folks can learn and start learning ahead, start getting ahead of the curve when it comes to some of the technology, as well as sharing the things that you know, because what you know is valuable. Sometimes people don't realize that even the little things that you know can be hugely valuable to someone else. So sharing is caring. All right. Let's go ahead and get to our, oops, slide is acting like it doesn't want to move. Okay, our videos. So let me go ahead and play. It's just taking us some time to load. Okay, there we go.
McCown Gordon's commitment to technology differentiates us from all of our competition. The way that we utilize technology and we stay on the cutting edge of it helps us to manage our work better, manage our relationships, and manage our money. My name's Paul Cook. I work for McCown Gordon Construction and I'm a superintendent. As a superintendent of a construction project, I'm basically the mayor of a small town. When I'm working with a project estimator, he'll have his work out in front of us, which is the pricing for all the activities that we're going to do. Spreadsheets help us organize the tasks that need to happen on a job site so that we can communicate them clear and concisely so that anybody can understand what they need to be doing at any given time. Jesse and I can sit down with all the information that he's compiled in one document to compare everything line by line and make sure that it's all accounted for. Spreadsheets will show us how our decisions have impacted our time or our money, and we can make corrective actions from what we see in that information. I think that's the essence of business is time and money, and if we're not organized, we're just wasting both.
Alrighty, so let me go on. Okay, so we have like a mix up with our speakers this time. So we had a speaker who was supposed to come in, who was Ives, but that person is unable to attend. So they won't be here. Then we have another speaker, Blaze, who is not here yet. So we are going to continue with our founder and co-CEO for CISA and NTC Tech, who will do his talk on modern professionalism navigating today's business environment.
Thank you very much, Nikia. All right, let me share my screen. All right, so change the schedule, but that's fine. Welcome everyone. Today we'll be exploring what it means to be a professional in a modern digital workplace. The way we work has changed, and it's changing even faster than it was before COVID. And COVID was just that catalyst that sent us into a different way of working, because at the time we had to. Now we see it's a better way of working. So we'll cover skills like digital readiness, communication, personal branding, collaboration, essential for success in today's environment involving work environment. Okay, so what we will discuss: being punctual and prepared in digital settings, communicating effectively online, building your personal brand and practicing good online etiquette, stay disciplined in remote hybrid work, respect digital workflows, using emotional intelligence, committed to continuous learning, and collaborate with integration and ownership. Each topic is practical and relevant for today's workplace. All right, so digital punctuation and preparedness. Now, we all know that there are times that you cannot help but be late. But with a rule I've always lived by: early, you're on time, and when you're on time, you're late. If you keep that rule in mind, then you will have less times where stuff happens. So the importance of being on time for a virtual meeting. Now, many of us get on meetings and we sit there and we wait, we wonder if they come in 7 minutes, 5 minutes go by. And then once that meeting is done, well, once we realize that someone is late, we get off the meeting. And then we see that person pop up in the meeting 20 minutes later. So the importance of being on time for a virtual meeting: starting the time, meeting on time boosts not only productivity and teamwork, it brings punctual into a similar way to show professionalism and respect for others' time. So the whole time they took the effort to get you on schedule, to get there and get in the meeting to talk. Now that's the difference between 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. That is explainable. I mean, even though a lot of times if you're working for someone, you want to be in the meeting before your boss get there. You want to be in there settled, ready to go. You want to log in early to ensure you'll work your tech work and avoid last minute issues, because as we know, technology nowadays changes. So some things that was working yesterday, last night, may not be functioning that morning. So you want to test everything and make sure, especially if you're being a presenter or the boss is relying on you to present to a client. Because before you got there, the boss pretty much told the client that you are you know, the pinnacle of excellence, that the work you about to bring them is the tip top work. But then you show up late, your stuff isn't working. That tears down momentum and it makes the boss look incompetent. So be mindful of this and be mindful of global time zones when scheduling meetings with remote teams, because nowadays we're not just working in one particular time zone. We're working across the world. You know, if you're on LinkedIn, you might get a job in Dubai. We don't know how you end up doing business. The world is interconnected. So we don't know how that is. So use the tools to help you keep up with your time zones as well. Prepare with digital tools and documents. So bring your laptop charged and make sure your apps are updated. Prepare, organize digital documents before meeting so you're ready to contribute. There's nothing more frustrating than when you are in a high stakes meeting and you can't find or fumbling through documents. You're not well prepared and organized before you can show up. Once again, you most likely either you have the boss looking at you or you have the actual client looking at you as being unorganized, because a lot of business is now done online. You meet a lot of people online. If I do business with someone in the US from Ghana, only thing they could tell from me is what I show them as professionalism online. Your work may be good, may be the best, but if they see you fumbling around, unprepared, not set up properly, then that gives them a different feel about you. I don't know. They're not ready. They're not ready to perform on a big stage. That can cause you, your boss actually to be sued, lose contracts, and more. Effective modern communications. So because we are speaking across different time zones, different language, different accents, it's best to speak clearly in virtual meetings to keep everyone engaged. Use professional and concise messages and emails and chats. Avoid using slang or unclear text. Keep communication straightforward. Um, don't be afraid to use tools like AI to help you formulate messages. It's wisely support, not replace your communication. So you can have it monitor it a bit, put a little shine on the end of it so that your message is more clear and professional. Also think about how you speak in meetings. Because of the accents that a lot of us have, we have to remember to speak slowly. That way, if you're speaking to someone in China, if you're speaking to someone in the US, Canada, or anywhere in the world, they can understand what you're saying. Same thing with them. You want them to speak to you and slow it down so that the accent don't overtakes the words that they're saying, and they're not using slang in it that you don't understand. So that keeps the conversation going and make sure it's a good conversation. And everybody's on the same page. No one's confused. Okay. Any questions so far? Any comments, questions? I don't see any in the chat. Okay. Well, let's keep moving on. Personal branding. Personal branding is very important. But one thing you have to remember when you do personal branding, what you put online lives forever. So maintain a personal online presence, keep your profile updated and professional. One way that a lot of companies tend to, even if you are presented with a company as a worker or a CEO or whatever, before you start doing that work, most likely if you're on LinkedIn, they're gonna come look you up. They're gonna see what your experiences are, what you've done, any comments you made, are you ethical, things like that. So they look you up. So you need to keep your profile updated and professional. Watch your tone in digital conversations. Use clarity and respect goes a long way. So understand the words you use and the way you phrase it, because sometimes I can give you an example, right? When you speaking to someone face to face or on the phone, you understand tones and voice, or you speaking face to face, you understand body language. But if you texting somebody, there's no body language, there's no tone, it's just direct words. So the way people read those words can be screwed, be taking and taken in the wrong way. Is a good episode on Key and Peele, whereas they would, if you ever heard the show called Can't Pan Pan in the US, is a comedy where they're texting each other back and forth about going out and having fun that night and having a drink. But the way one was speaking to the other in text, he was perceiving it as a threat. So they going back and forth. One dude's like, whatever, it's gonna be whatever there's gonna be. How, whatever. What time you want to do this? And they going back and forth, back and forth. One think it's a threat, the other one's just being cool. They show up at the bar. One dude sitting there ordered his friend a drink and say, hey, waiting for him. His friend showed up with a baseball bat with spikes. So your tone and the way you word things is important because you want to make sure that it's taken in a very specific way. Avoid unprofessional behaviors in your group chats and social platforms. Like I said, when you put stuff online, it stays there forever, ever. And people pull that up later and say, hey, this person did this or said this. It does not represent the views of our company or our organization. We cannot have any association with this person. It doesn't happen. We've seen it happen over and over and over and over again. All right. Discipline in remote work and hybrid workplace. Time management and creating a productive workspace. Stay focused by minimizing distractions. So many of us have a specific time of day that we are more effective. Me, I'm an early morning person. I get up 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. I get most of my work done early in the morning, and then most of the day tends to be whatever falls off the, comes in the door during the day, problems that have to be solved during the day. But I know my strength is in the morning when I first get up. So you make that your time that you want to get your most productive work out of that. Um, Schedule and focus time. Um, we work online, and one thing about working online is not the same as working in an office building. In an office building, you get up in the morning, you eat breakfast, you drink your coffee, you leave the house, you drive to the office building. That takes that's about 2 hours already in the day, already gone. Maybe three, depends on how long it takes you to get dressed in the morning, eat breakfast, and get out the door, right? You spend that time on the road, and then when you get to work, you setting up. Once you set up, get to work. You're doing all your work. You punch in at 9 o'clock. You got a lunch break at 12. Once you get your lunch break at 12, you probably have another 15-minute break in between your 12 and the time you get off. Once you get off, you wrap up, you leave work. You get into that drive, that commute home. That commute home transports your mind from I'm leaving work to I'm going into my home life. What am I going to eat for dinner? What are my kids doing? What is my wife doing? What is my girlfriend doing? What is my mama doing? Your mind is off of work. When you do remote work, that changes. When you get up, your work is already right there in front of you. And if you are a person that likes doing what they do, it's very easy to get into your work. And before you know it, 6, 7 hours that went by. You haven't eaten breakfast, lunch, nothing, but you've been working the whole time. You haven't gotten walked around, you haven't worked out, did no type of exercise. So you have to make that time to make sure you stay productive. Um, also stay focused, and it also help you by being organized that way. It shows leadership by taking initiatives. Consistently high output builds trust and reliability. So even if you're talking about a coworker, or running your own business or in a meeting with a client, being organized and having everything together and having that understanding between work-life responsibilities. Because if you look at life, life is the reason that you do the work, not work for life. It's the other way around. Respect the digital workflow. Keep task boards, project tools, and shared documented updated. In this type of work nowadays, we do a lot of shared documents. We do a lot of shared work. Um, we do a lot of collaboration, whereas though you may have someone out doing sales, but you have somebody doing research. That information from the sales need to be back to the research team so that research team can do what they need to do to get that information out, not only to the sales department, but the marketing department. Not only to the marketing department, but the leadership. And then all of us working on documentation together to be able to do brochures, file folders, I mean not folders, flyers, advertisements, things like that. Even working on documents for proposals. Um, you know, documentation of whatever type of solution you built. If you built the solutions together and it has to be turned into the client by Wednesday, you both working on it, document it as you go. That way, as you keep updating it, everything is up to date. Project tools are regular. Make sure you follow your version controls and file sharing equities. Response to messages promptly to keep workflows efficient. And even I have issues with that at times, responding to messages promptly, especially when you get caught up in the day-to-day. Problems happen during the day, people stuff break, emergency and this client popped up and it's over this client. You have back-to-back meetings, people just jumping on your schedule out of nowhere. And before you know it, you've been in meetings all day long. You have not checked none of your messages. And then somebody come in, I'll send you a message. And you're like, oh man, then you gotta go back and look at that message. Try to be more responsive to that. All right, emotional intelligence and monitoring teams. All right, recognizing emotional tones to avoid misunderstanding. When back in the day, when you in meetings with people, you could tell what they were saying or what they were sometimes what they saying out their mouth isn't what they mean. And you could tell by body language. You could tell by, the tone in what they're saying. Understanding that sometimes they say they want this, but they really need that. Their tone is pitched on this, but this ain't that, this is really something not too important. Or you're doing a project for someone. Good example. You're doing a project for someone. You don't recognize that they are upset with you, that you have been, you know, they are not feeling what you're doing. You haven't been prepared, but it's been going on for weeks, but you don't realize, you don't see the tone, that you don't see that body structure, because the only thing you see is that it's this. And what they put on camera is all you see, right? So you recognize it that you don't recognize you going in the wrong direction. But they like, yeah, that's nice, but yeah, yeah, that's cool. But their whole face is telling you that it's wrong. So you got to realize and recognize those type of emotional tones, their facial features, things like that, to understand. Make sure that you're more effective in meetings. When you over talking, and your boss wants you to shut up because you're going too far into too deep into the conversation. You know, he don't want you to go there. You got to recognize when he's saying, "Hey, you know, okay, yes, you know, that's you know, when to shut the lips." Um, Context help you interpret messages accurately. So when you're doing messaging, things like that, put a little context in it. That means that way there's no misunderstanding. Respond thoughtfully to prompt positive interactions. So even there are certain things that even if you mess up, that if you respond thoughtfully to them and understand that, hey, they understand things happen. But if you respond thoughtfully, give them context, just tell them exactly what everything is. This is this, and this is that in detail. Whereas they don't have to play the guessing game. It goes a long way to making sure that they still stay on board, even when you have a screw up. Manage stress and collaborations with diverse teams. So everyone that you, when now that we're doing interconnected work with a lot of different countries, towns, online, different nationalities, different diverse teams. Everyone has perspective. And sometimes that perspective may stress you out. You know, sometimes you may not see eye to eye. So use stress management techniques to stay professional under pressure. So I'll give you a few things that we use with system. In our teams, there's a place called Viva Insight. In Viva's Insight, there's a place where you could do meditation, um, places where so you could do that mind melt and give you that relaxation if you know you're gonna go into a difficult meeting. Um, if you know, because every client is not perfect, every work partner is not perfect. They're gonna stress you out. So understand that. Go to your, you know, do that meditation before the meeting. Sometimes do the meditation after the meeting. That way you can move on. But every client is different, every person is different, and it might just be a cultural thing that's different, that's not clicking. So embrace diversity, working with global teams spark creativity and innovation, as well as some stress. So, you know, stay professional under pressure. Keep learning, continuously learn and adapt. Stay update with new tools, new systems, new AI. One thing a lot of people say that AI is going to take over the world. No, the person that's going to take your job is the person that know how to use AI efficiently. The person that's going to move ahead of us, move ahead of you, is the person that keeps learning and keep innovating and keep understanding what's new. Make sure you adapt to the new tools. Play with them. A lot of these new tools that come out, they give you free free time span where you can play around with it and do things with it. Is get familiar to it. They have conferences on it. Learn what it is, not only because they may be good tools for us to use or for yourself to use. They may be our competition, or they might actually get inspired, innovative ideas within yourself. So, you know, constantly keep using new tools. Learn new skills proactively. Data literacy, digital communication, automated tools, listen to books, read business books, read um, learning for, you know, how to communicate, self-development books, things like that. Um, being open to changes, innovation, and new work styles. Invest in yourself. That's one thing I also want to make sure I drive. Invest in yourselves. If you have a job, you get a paycheck, right? Your job requires to have tools. If I'm a carpenter, if I want to become a professional carpenter, I go out and buy tools. I buy my tools. I have my tools ready to go when I'm ready to go to work. I make sure I have a professional routine. All that's done. That's the same thing with technology. Backup generators. We're in Ghana. We know the power go out. Backup internet. We know that happens. The internet goes down. It goes down sometimes more right in the middle of meetings. We got to get back on, right back. You got to be able to switch over and get back on, because let me ask you, if you're in a meeting with someone that you're trying to close a deal with, that you've been there for chasing for 6 months, $100 million meeting, and the power go out and your internet go down, are you gonna be like, dang, man, or you gonna want to switch over and jump right back into that meeting? I apologize, my power just switched out. We back in. Let's get back moving. Or while you sitting there after you've been working on a project for months and you about to present it to a client. They got their whole staff there. Everybody's waiting. And as soon as you go to get started, the power go out. Internet goes down. You need to have backup. Invest in yourself. Use some of that paycheck to invest in making sure you're able to continue to work tomorrow. Integrity, ownership, and value-based collaboration. So take responsibility. Be transparent. Act ethically. Build trust and support your team, especially distribution, blah. We'll get some word up real quick. And this listening environments. Right now, I'm getting tongue twisted, but okay. Taking responsibility, transparency, and ethical behavior. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone. Me, you, everyone makes mistakes. The best way to handle that is to own up to that mistake quickly. Because if you don't, then you start digging more holes. And those holes become bigger mistakes. This also, if you own up to it right up front, this builds trust. So like, hey, yeah, I misunderstood. I did this, you know what I mean? And this happened, and now I'm fix this, and I'm listening, and I'm letting you know it just happens. Okay, fix that. Let me know what happens. That's what you're gonna get most of the time. But if you let it linger out, and then they gotta find out that you made a mistake later, then they're gonna think you're trying to hide it from them. So be open about challenges and delays. If something happened where you're delayed, if I say to you, I'm gonna have something done by Friday, and you see that Friday is not gonna be feasible, hey, well, I know I set up to get this Friday. Um, let's can we move, I think things need to change. I need a little bit more time. Or be proactive. Don't be late. You know, meet your deadline. Manage your time correctly. Maintain ethical behavior online and offline. So that means if you know, say you're gonna do something and you you're being relied on to get these things done, and your team is waiting for you. Your team depending on you, they are the ones that hold you responsible. They the ones you should be held responsible to. They are relying on you, and you are the weak link in that chain. So make sure you support your team, share knowledge, for collective success. Maintain that ethical behavior. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Think about your team. and your business first before you say, okay, I'm gonna do it my way or this way. Think about everybody else first and collaborate. Okay, so in conclusion, professionalism today goes far beyond showing up on time or completing tasks. It's about being digitally ready, communicating with clarity, managing emotional maturity, embracing continuous learning and collaboration ethically with others. These are the qualities that define excellence in today's fast-moving workplace. By embracing these principles, each of us becomes better equipped to thrive in modern work environments, contributing meaningful to our teams and unlocking new opportunities for growth and success. This is the mindset that will position us and guide us to lead confidently into the future. So thank you very much. Any questions?
Thanks very much, Terry. I don't see any questions right at the moment, but I would just say that, this is a hugely important topic. Um, whether your business right now, you're working for a business, as Terry's saying, that's local, at some point you may start crossing borders. When you cross into those borders, you're going to need to make sure you are the professional, so that these big adventures that the company that you work for is having doesn't turn out to be a big flop. Same thing with if you're the one running the business. Um, if you're not professional looking, if you're not doing things professionally, it will catch up to you, especially as you try to expand. So very, very important points, Harry. Anyone else? All right. So if you have any questions for Harry after because he's about to go. Oh, there's Harrison. So go ahead. Go ahead, Harrison. I don't know
All
if
right.
you're talking. Okay, there you go.
Yes, all right. Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. So, Harry, great presentation, yes, but I have a little question, which is regards to the reading tone and context in digital messages. So, I just wanted to ask, does the use of, emojis to express, your emotions or what you are trying to convey professional, like in a professional setting, is that, something which is, should I say, which is allowed, or is this something which makes you look professional or not?
Um, as far as external of your organization, I would not use emojis. Internal to um, collaborating with your team, I don't see an issue with that. But external and a professional to a client or someone that you're doing professional work for, I wouldn't do emojis like that. I've seen people do emojis like on the phone or things like that, as far as, uh, making comments to different LinkedIn posts or things like that. But or thumbs internal, but external, what about you? What you think, Nikki? External usually it's the ethic that you could do it internal, but not to external clients.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. Unless you have a close relationship or you're like on a team where you're working with a partner, then
Hmm.
you can kind of consider them as your internal team and be a little bit more loose, and less formal. Um, Emojis are great. I love emojis. I love GIFs. I use them a lot. My team can tell you I use them a lot. Um, Sometimes too much, probably. But I only use them internally unless I'm talking to a client or partner and we have a very close relationship and it's an informal type conversation, or it can be taken informally. If it's one of those um, conversations where I'm talking to a partner and or a customer and the house is on fire, they don't want to see any emojis. That's just going to probably piss them off. So you want to be more formal per the situation. But yes, usually internally emojis and stuff like that. Externally, usually you want to be a bit more formal.
Yes, and you got to make sure that the person you sending emojis to knows what those emojis mean. Um, or like, you do the LOL and stuff like that in your message. You got to make sure people actually know what that means. I had someone send me a message that was like SMH or some crap like that. And I was like, what the heck? I mean, I didn't know what that means. You know what I mean? I put back in there something crazy. I think it was like spank my hiney or something like that. And it blew up the meeting. So, but I don't, we got to make sure that a lot of folks don't know these new acronyms and stuff, these new LOLs and all that stuff means. It can mean pretty much anything to us. And it depends on what TV show we watching at that time. We could just throw out, spaceships on my house. It could be anything. So, watch the emojis, watch the LOLs, all those things like that. And
Yeah, abbreviations and
yeah,
slang.
yeah. And question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Or if you send a message to somebody and everything is in all caps, what I mean? We like, why are you yelling at me? So, those are different. Just, yeah, those etiquettes are good internally, but not externally. Hope I answered your question.
Yeah, that's clear. Thank you.
All right. All right. Any others? Okay, if no more questions, thank you very much. My time is up. On to the next one.
Yes, thank you, Harry. If y'all have any more questions for Harry, you can put them in the chat window. He will be monitoring. All right, so up next, we have Blaze, and he will be talking about AI for Africa, building responsible systems through policy, governance, and ethics. I believe you're on here, Blaze, so you can go ahead and start sharing your screen and take it away. Yes.
Okay, so my name is Blaze Fango. I'm a recent graduate in computer science from Kwame Nkrumah University and presently a business analyst for a fintech in Cameroon, where I work at the moment. So today I'll be presenting on building responsible AI, policy governance, and risk mitigation for sub-Saharan Africa. Basically, I watched or I read about the recent AI Global Summit that took place in Rwanda. So I just got some very important things from there that I thought of sharing today with you guys, which would be, to me, I thought it would be very important to do that. Okay, so let's go in. So from my experience and from what I've noticed around the whole AI cloud in Africa at the moment, there's a promise around that I read from a certain UNDP paper, which says that we expect to have about 1.2 to 3 trillion of Africa's economy definitely climb due to AI if it's properly implemented. But then the reality that I also notice in our day-to-day lives is that most countries in Africa lack the framework to harness this potential safely, and only a handful of them have actually put in place maybe some concrete AI policies. For example, I think we have Rwanda, we have South Africa, I think Ivory Coast too, maybe Ghana in some domains. Yeah, but I know most of the other countries in Africa have not done that, especially in Francophone Africa. And I can talk about that from first principle. I've seen many people who have tried to implement AI tools. They probably build AI tools, but at the end of the day, they all go to waste because there's no framework for that in that country. Yeah. So one of the general use cases of AI also I've learned or I've understood, which will be very pivotal here in Africa, are in domains like agriculture, which can be seen through these drones. And then we also have
Blaze,
finance. Yes.
apologies, but we're seeing your PowerPoint slide. It's just your like the edit version of the PowerPoint, and I'm not sure you're still on the front on the first slide.
Or is still showing just the first slide?
Yeah, I see where your mouse is. Yeah, on the editable PowerPoint. So I don't know if you're presenting on a different screen, or you're still in the first slide and we're just.
Okay, I was already on the third slide. Can you see
Oh,
the third
dang.
slide now?
Okay, now we can see it. Yes,
Okay.
can see it now. Thank you.
Okay, so I was on the general use case of AI, which are very needed and prominent in Africa at the moment. We have the field of agriculture, um, whereby people usually use AI-powered drones and sensors, enabling their farmers to be able to monitor crop health. We have finance, uh, AI-driven apps which provide investment advice, budgeting tips, money remittance at money operation speeds. You can transfer money from one region to another. I know a couple of companies which already use that. I think it's Yellow Share or Yellow Care, one of them. There's also healthcare, where AI is usually used when it comes to medical scans like X-rays, MRIs. This is prominently used in Rwanda, and then CT scans to assist doctors in detecting diseases like cancer at early stages. And this has really improved diagnostic accuracy. So those are the good uses of AI. Now, the negative uses, we actually see it everywhere. Deep fakes, a lot of uh, highly realistic fake videos and audios, which are very trendy. There's a lot of bias when it comes to training data. Most of the times, these data have like unfair outcomes in areas like hiring, lending, and even law enforcement at times, and surveillance too. There's a widespread use right now of AI-powered surveillance systems, which raises concerns about like privacy and civil liberty. So people cannot even move freely in public spaces. Um, with all of that, the first thing I really want to talk about is AI policy. Since we have seen the different cases of AI, and then AI policy is a term that is very, very important that's actually very important when it comes to what AI is all about, which refers to the rules and frameworks guiding how AI is developed, is deployed, and is used. So these rules and frameworks are like they talk about like the who and what. So basically, the people who are in charge of actually creating these rules and creating these frameworks so that these AI systems can be used. So we have some of them which exist already, like the European AI Act, a binding law on AI for European Union member states. In Africa, we have the Rwanda AI strategy, which was officially inaugurated by the cabinet in 2023. Then we also have some other countries in Africa that are having like frameworks or drafts around that, but are still to conclude on them. South Africa being one. So when you look at the map of Africa, we'll notice that we have countries like Egypt, which is already developed. I think Uganda. I think which countries is up here? I don't know. Morocco. Is that Morocco? Yes, Morocco, Turkey, and I think Senegal too. Senegal has, and what should I say more countries is? Yeah, Senegal. And then we have the likes of Nigeria, the likes of Kenya, the likes of South Africa, and then you can see the rest of African countries who are still quite behind, which are involved in AI policies and strategies. And then But at the end of the day, in spite of the fact that we're very behind, we still need to care. Why should Africa care about this? We need to care about this because if we don't care about this, we have risk, like risk of inaction. So we're going to face things like, algorithmic bias. Most of the times, facial recognition systems, AI systems, it feels more on dark skin than white skin. We also face things like privacy violations, like our data. Uh, the other from other continents would probably want to use our data without us even knowing, what it's used for. Then there are most of the times also external control of AI narratives other than ours, like what we want to use AI for. They might have different interests. Then also we have, as in spite of the risk, we also have an economic opportunity if we can actually care about, promoting how AI is used as a framework in Africa. It will lead to job creations, AI engineers, architects. It will also lead to leapfrogging when it comes to developmental challenges. Like I explained in the use cases, we're going to have an increase when it comes to our GDP in terms of things like agriculture, finance, and other basic domains that every country needs. Then sovereignty, I think AI is our power and identity. As of now, we can talk about countries like Japan, the US, and other major, power holds in the world. Uh, since they are the front runners of AI at the moment, I don't think we can compare our power in Africa as compared to theirs, because they are way ahead of us. And I believe this is something crucial that we need in Africa for our economic development. If one day we want to create something like our own Silicon Valley, there's a concept of investing in tech firms on ground. But what firms and what enterprises should we invest in? What startups? And how do we make that happen? It's not like what happened in the US in the 1970s to Silicon Valley will automatically happen here directly. But then, at least if we can just try to, build stable administrative systems that ensure sustainability, um, I think it's going to help a lot. Because one thing also I've noticed when it comes to, building an AI system, so creating an entrepreneurial ecosystem, is that it's very easy to actually even build an AI startup, for example, in Delaware than in Africa, because of things like bureaucracy, taxes, and operating costs. So those are the main things to do for that to happen. So we're going to now talk about in spite of the fact that we should care about AI, there's still a trust problem that exists. For example, there's a lot of online scams that we even have in Africa in spite of without even using AI. So how about if AI now comes in place? There's a lot of hate speech, a lot of deep fakes, like we talked about earlier, and surveillance. Trust is not just needed when it comes to technology, but trust is needed when it comes to the people and the systems building it. Harry earlier talked about AI not coming to replace us, and I'll bring that here too. But AI is coming to replace those who don't know how to use AI. And in this case, the trust that we need here for those who know how to use AI is by these people and the systems which are building. So that's what we definitely need. And then uh, the other challenge that we also have, in spite of if we're trying to bring AI to Africa, is the evidence fragmentation challenge. So at this summit, according to Rachel Adams, who is the CEO of the Global Center of AI Governance, she said that there's a bigger issue of evidence fragmentation. That is, without a global sense of shared data, government risk building these systems in ignorance, with each having different priorities, safeguards, and blind spots. So because of these things, we might probably have different agendas, but because of the fact that we are not in cohesion and we are not working in the community, which is what those of the West did for them to be where they are today, we will definitely not progress with building this AI ecosystem in Africa. So the solution for that, for me, is that we should definitely try to open some frameworks, which tries to encourage regional cooperation. Maybe let's say each zone in Africa is a mark zone for Central African countries. Maybe the countries in West Africa can try to build something around the ECOWAS, maybe an ECOWAS AI policy around something, and maybe around the AI software which is built, and then Central Africa too. And then most of the times, we should also try to, advance or push community-driven research. So whenever someone or there's a particular hub that is involved in community-driven research, we should encourage them, maybe through grants or things like that, and encourage collaboration over competition. So now, what is AI governance? Most of the times, people usually misinterpret AI governance with AI in governance. But AI in governance is when AI systems are used by governments to make decisions and policies. That's what AI in governance is. But now, governance, governance is simply AI governance, simply systems ensuring AI is transparent, is accountable, is fair, and it's safe. So AI systems which have been developed should definitely have these four traits across not only governments, but companies and institutions which are not only in the public sector. For example, we have Rwanda's Ministry of ICT and Innovation happen to have like an AI startup fund where they fund AI startups. But then they try to ensure that it's accountability to make sure that each of these companies develop specific software which have these particular traits of transparency, accountability, fairness, and safeness for their people. So that's what AI governance is all about. What we can learn from Rwanda, which is a leading AI African country. One thing I understood is their ministry of ICT and innovation, or their tech ministry actually, has been trying to put in things like memorandums of understandings in the domains we have talked about from the very beginning, education. And I believe in the next years is really going to put them in the spotlight when it comes to their GDP. And we talked about the special fund for their AI startups. And they're also trying to make registering and starting businesses very easy in Rwanda. In my country, Cameroon, having a business is like a total nightmare. So if they can actually do that, a lot of people definitely move. I hope and pray that other African governments should also follow, because by doing this is going to lead, is going to help a lot when it comes to economic development. So now I'm going to talk about AI ethics. AI ethics is simply mitigating the risk of developing and using AI. So we're supposed to reduce like the how will I say, the things which involve like the things which involve using like the negative things, or I think trying to make sure that every time we're using AI, we should use AI morally in a positive way without trying to cause any harm. So some of the risks or some of the harmful things that people have used AI for, or AI can do actually, are things like algorithmic bias. So an AI can try to prioritize maybe a particular data set over another. Job displacement, maybe AI coming to replace some specific jobs. Yes, some specific jobs which are archaic, maybe privacy erosion, it might not really prioritize privacy. And sometimes, and most of the times, deepfakes, something which is normal everywhere. So strategies to be able to combat that, we have things like, ethical AI design. So we need to make sure that every time we go, when you're trying to train a model or a language learning model, you should include all the necessary data sets, show that it's fairness and it's well audited, regulation and oversight, uh, making sure that they are independent auditors, such that the auditors can actually recheck and recheck and recheck and have the same particular answer for that particular model to ensure that it's fair. And then we have multi-stakeholder engagement. So it should not just be, let's say, the government should probably working on AI and the people are ignorant, or maybe a particular company is working on AI. For example, in the US right now, I believe there are AI systems and AI stakeholders at every single level, from government to the public to the private sector, making sure that everybody in the country is aware of what's happening as they move from one stage of technology development to the other. And I think we need that here in Africa. In that particular AI Rwanda summit, there is a certain Dr. Joy Bolowani. She said that for us to be able to, progress, we need to craft policies that protect without stifling innovation. And yes, we also need a lot of African voices when it comes to global AI ethics, such that these people can actually contribute a how will I say it, a global south perspective of how AI ethics should be implemented into future AI systems that we're going to create. Then AI, the AI push in Africa is not a race. We're not trying to run a 100 meters race, maybe comparing ourselves to other continents like Asia or Oceania or Americas or Europe. But it's about building systems that work. What we should prioritize is making systems that work. Africa is not behind in AI. We're building systems that should respond to our challenges, like food insecurity, like maybe climate disasters, desertification, and maybe education gaps. That's something very crucial, and urbanization. So our vision is that Africa has the resources, Africa has the talent and the creativity to lead, but leadership must be claimed through things like smart policies, smart AI policies. We should have a bold infrastructure that can be able to sustain these systems when we build them. And then we need to encourage relentless collaboration between our countries. So we're not trying to copy Silicon Valley, but we're trying to build for Africa what is needed by Africa. So my call to action today as individuals is we should try to educate ourselves on AI ethics, because there will be a time when each of us will all be involved in this and will have the choice to make sure that what we are using AI, is it going to be for good, or is it going to be for bad? At that particular time, our choice is that we want to use AI for good to make life better for other humans. I also hope that we advocate for transparency and accountability. As for those who have companies or are in companies, the company should try to adopt ethical AI frameworks. The company should invest in local talent such that we don't have brain drain, and the company should prioritize fairness in algorithms. As for the governments, I hope that governments can be able to develop Africa-centered AI policies and not just try to copy things and play around. Collaborate regionally, as I talked about the different African country zones, and build capacity through educating these people on these concepts. So I think AI isn't just for policymakers, but I think everyone should have a role when it comes to making this pushing this AI domain in Africa. Personally, my own commitment is to pursue graduate studies in information and AI to deepen my impact in AI governance and ethics. My next steps that I would love to take are to research more on AI policy for African context, learn how to even build inclusive AI systems, and advocate for shared frameworks, be a particular leading voice in AI for our continent. So I think that will be that. Yes, and thank you very much for giving this opportunity to share with you what is very of much interest to me right now at the moment. Okay.
All right, thanks much, Blaze. I see Harry has a question. Go ahead, Harry.
Thank you for that, Blaze. Very interesting presentation. As far as the ethics, AI ethics, learning what are the ethics and changes and rules and things, is there a specific place that you can refer to us that we can go to learn these things?
Sorry, I didn't really get it, the question.
Okay, so you mentioned that for us to learn more about AI ethics, is there a specific resource that we can go to actually pull up those type of ethics that's listed out, or what ethics in what facility, what area versus other? Is there a specific resource we can go get that information?
when it comes to AI ethics, the only domains that I've been able to get so far are just think maybe national or international fellowships. There's one that's about to go on, I think the AI fellowship at the University of Cambridge. I think through fellowships, I think through reading blogs, that's when you can actually know, and maybe also conferences like this summit that took place, because it's just when these groups of people actually come together, that's when they and actually they can actually sit down and decide that this is should be the use of AI. Like this particular use of AI is good, and this other particular use of AI is not good. But if it's left to each and every one of us, probably just handle AI on our own. People say the heart of the human being is wicked. I don't know if that's even the truth, but I think it's from collaborations or maybe from even shared spaces like this. That's where um, the true the definition of AI ethics is actually pronounced. I don't know if that solves the question.
Yeah, because one thing I realized, even in the US, they having issues with what are the ethics of AI? What things can AI actually create? Especially because it's fairly new, and they have a lot of countries haven't learned what is the full impact of AI. What actually can AI do? Can actually make images of people doing things that they actually didn't do, or say things they actually didn't say, or stealing content. Those things like that has to be put into place. And yes, you're right. We all need to get involved when it comes to those type of ethics. Thank you for that.
Okay, I think it's another question.
Yeah, I know I just raised my own hand, but um, but yeah, I just want to add on to what Harry was just saying. We're seeing also the effects of other types of AI misuse happening in the business world, especially well, I could say in the US. I'm not sure about other Western countries, but we're seeing service issues and technology gaps and issues and things that we didn't have issues before when there was a bunch of people that were behind the scenes working on these things. But when AI came out, a bunch of uh, CEOs and business leaders decided that, especially like I said in the U.S., where capitalism is king, that the dollar was more important than people's lives, but also being short sighted, thinking that AI will solve everything. And we're seeing service issues for technology and other things in the States because of that. Um, and they're still being a little slow to learn, but um, you definitely have to push this stuff forward from the ground level because uh, some of our leaders are a little bit too slow.
That's true. That's true. Everyone should definitely have a role in making sure that AI is actually moving forward, because I don't think it should be left in the hands of maybe some specific people. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Any other questions or comments, folks? All
Yeah.
right, thanks, Blaze. I know you'll be hanging out here, so if y'all have a question for Blaze, before we leave, you can put a question in the chat for him. Thanks, Blaze.
Thank you very much too. Thank you. I really enjoyed sharing this with you people. Okay.
All right. Don't forget that if you want to try some of the things, especially when we're talking about Office 365 or Microsoft 365, you can get a dev account. It is no longer completely free. You have to actually have Visual Studio Professional or Enterprise in order to get it. But if you do have Visual Studio Professional or Enterprise, then which you could have through like a school account or something like that, then you can get your free M365 account. You can also sign up for a trial and use it for 30 days at a time. Well, I think up to 90 days if you extend it in time. So we hope you all enjoyed being with us and learning with us and networking with us tonight. We really appreciate you joining us. If you have any ideas about topics that you'd like to hear, please make sure you reach out to us. You have the QR codes on the screen so that you can talk to us through the community page. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn. You can use our email address, Nancy Tech COMM, COMM at consultntctech.com, or the other one that's at outlook.com. And let us know what kind of topics you might want to hear for the coming months. You can also take advantage of our post-event survey and let us know how our events are going or how this one had gone. And we'll see you not next month. This should be, say, January, the month after. We take it off for December. We'll see you in January, and we'll see if we're in person or online. It will depend on our registrations. If we get a lot of registrations, then we'll go ahead and have in person. But if we don't, then we'll go online on that Saturday. Alrighty, thanks everybody. And we will talk to you not next month, but the month after in January. Have a good holiday.